Timothy Ferriss is out with a new book today. It's called Tribe of Mentors, and it's a compilation of wisdom from leaders in every industry. Joining us right now is the author himself, Tim Ferriss. And Tim, thanks for being here today.
Lovely to be back.
I love how simple your formula is for this. You talk to over 100 leaders, people from Tim McGraw to Maria Sharapova to business leaders we all know like Steve Case, and you ask them the same 11 questions. What were those 11 questions and what answers did you get?
Well, the 11 questions were partially, I'd say 8 of the 11 fine-tuned from the podcast. So I've had 300 opportunities to fine-tune it with people like Ray Dalio and others. And the questions are questions that I would want to ask these people if I bumped into them at a dinner party or in an elevator. And if I had to choose 2, because they take a while to go through, but one would be, what failure has set you up for later success, whether you knew it at the time or not? So tell that story. And the second would be, what techniques or strategies do you have for saying no? For me right now, that's a big one.
Yeah, that's a huge one. I want to talk about that in a minute, but let's start with the first one, your favorite failures, because Ashton Kutcher gave you a great answer for this. What?
He did. So unbeknownst to many people, he had a brief stint with criminal record, and I think it was burglary when he was 18, and he felt...
He was actually put in prison, right?
Yeah, he was. So it's the intense shame that he felt from that led him to want to prove to the world that he wasn't that guy. And because the low of that shame was so intense, it also led him to feel more comfortable taking the risks that he did with startups, which have certainly become a huge component of his professional success. Gigantic. His track record is just phenomenal. So that would be one example. And then you have people like Patton Oswalt, incredible stand-up comedian and actor, who said, favorite failure, every time I got on stage and ate it, and woke up the next morning and the world hadn't ended, right? And then he goes on to explain it.
It's less and less scary to fail, so you get used to the idea of taking risks.
Right, and when you hear all these stories, it gives you more confidence to de-risk maybe certain choices you're considering, starting a company, quitting a job, and to realize that most losses or mistakes are really survivable.
The second thing that you said that I think all busy people probably need to take a lesson from is how to say no gracefully. And you came at this from an interesting perspective, even some people who said no to you to this project.
Right. So I reached out to a lot of different people. Dalai Lama, call me. And there were a lot of non-responses, and then there were a fair number of polite declines. And some of the emails were so incredibly well crafted and so smart in the wordsmithing that they used that I then responded to the people who refused to be in the book to say, can I put your refusal email in the book, which I did. So a number of people said no, like Danny Meyer, Shake Shack, and so on. Then you have Neil Stephenson, incredible science fiction writer, one of my favorites, Snow Crash, and many, many others. Wendy McNaughton, who's an illustrator. So you can copy and paste, basically, the language they use to make it easier for you to say no to all those invitations.
Plus, it makes you feel good when you get a response.
Yeah, exactly. I like them more after being rejected, which is a real Jedi trick.
Okay, so give us a couple of the articulations, because we're all...
I'll give you a couple of ideas.
And then we'll get people to buy the book to hear all of them.
Oh, no, for sure. There are dozens of different tools in the toolkit.
What was your favorite, though?
One of my favorites is using the word policy or vacation to make it a blanket refusal. So, for instance, I was once refused for a lunch date with a very famous tech investor, and he said, sorry, I'm just taking I'm on a no meeting diet for the next month. And as a policy, I'm saying no to all meetings. And I said, that's interesting, no meeting diet. So I started using no conference call diet, no this, that, and the other thing diet. And people just rolled with it. It was incredible. There was no feedback, no pushback. That would be one.
Well, because it's not you, it's me.
Right. And
it's a way of breaking up with somebody.
Right, and almost inevitably what they say is, I'm so busy right now and over calendared that any response I were to give you, any time I were to give you, would find me distracted. So I'd love to do it later, but anything you're going to get right now out of me is going to be mediocre.
Later, though, because that's this is the thing. You say,
you have to be careful. You have to be careful.
But if you leave even
I'd love to do this on the 30th of February.
Yeah, you have to be really careful. So there are people who take that approach, and then there are other people like Dustin Moskovitz, who's also in Tribe of Mentors, who says the first no is the cleanest and the easiest. You have to do it very clearly and very, very early. So he has a slightly different but similar approach to saying no. And the best way to say no is not to respond at all, I find. So,
really?
Yep.
So you think, but I thought you just said you want to get the no. You like people who say...
Well, I like, as the recipient, for people to send me a very polite no. But if you have, as I do right now, 355,000 plus unread email, then the act of just parsing that would take the rest of your life. And in that respect, cultivating selective ignorance and becoming comfortable with letting a lot of the trivial many slide, which is another theme that comes up a lot, is really important.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.